Three, two, one, and boom. There we go. Coming at you live. Welcome back to the nap, everybody. Well, I guess not really the nap. Kind of the nap. Kind of the nap. Like this is our first foray into like sort of the new thing that we're doing while the pandemic has kind of slowed everything down. So we got one topic for you today, and it's one we've been itching to talk about, I think, for a good while. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's also a special occasion because it's a show that I caught almost every episode on its release day.
Nice.
And I wasn't incredibly late every single time. Uh, I don't think I've ever had a show. I think I've had The Mandalorian and The Boys. Those are the only two shows where that's ever occurred.
Well, and Amazon seemed to want you to view it even more because the last
Jesus.
couple episodes they were like releasing it like a little bit earlier and a little bit earlier, and so they I'm sure they were very happy you saw it on opening day.
I've got a really big gripe with Amazon, though. I got to tell you, they did a great job with this show. I'm really pleased with what they did, but I got to tell you, the ads that they were putting out for these episodes, I had a big problem with them because all of the ads that they were putting out, they were changing by the episode as it was coming out.
Right.
So I wasn't able to see them until like Friday night or late Friday night. And
Mm-hmm.
so I basically had to stay off of every single platform possible. It couldn't be on YouTube, couldn't be on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, nothing. Because they had ads going up and they had details from the episode that I was about to see. Like they had spoilers like right off the bat. Which
That's
you
so
just
weird.
can't do it. You just can't do that in today's day and age. Like you
Yeah,
can't do that. You can't
I
do that.
know you were saying that, and I didn't see one ad. Like, I don't know if maybe I just I didn't click on the first one that came up, and so I never got any other ones. But I know with other shows, yeah, I avoid YouTube and whatever if I don't want to see the trailer for the next week's episode. But I saw zero ads for this show, and so yeah, and I would have tried to avoid them like the plague because I really didn't want even at the end of the episode, if there was a preview for the next episode, I didn't want to see it. So I'm sorry that you had some stuff spoiled for you, but
Well, so it only
yeah,
happened twice.
okay,
After the second time, I was like, okay, I'm gonna hide Amazon from my ads. Like I'm gonna re- I didn't report the ads, but whatever the option is to like hide all Amazon ads from your feed. And
hmm
I guess it'll take a little while of like Facebook and Google spying on me before they decide to come back because I'm on Amazon all the time. But yeah, so it only happened twice. Um, and the details that I got spoiled for me weren't major. I think Amazon was at least decent about that they didn't put that in there
sure.
right off the bat. But some of the stuff, it was like, what the hell? Like
Well,
when you've got these shows where people are like super obsessed with them, little details can give a lot of information.
hmm
And it can also answer a lot of questions that you've had from the previous episode. Speaking of questions, that's like all I'm left with after this season.
well, before we get into the content, one of the biggest things we were talking about before this season started, and a lot of people were talking about it, was Amazon's decision not to drop the entire season at once. And I think they have their answer now that this is the correct model to use, that they're going to use this model going forward. They were at the top of streaming charts in multiple weeks in a row. They got more viewers as the season progressed because of word of mouth. It may have sucked, but at the same time, it wasn't terrible. They didn't take week off breaks. They gave you 3 episodes up front. So they still for the last couple weeks they've been dropping the episodes a couple hours early each night. So I think it was a smart call business wise. I think it really paid off. And now, I mean, they have more viewers now than they did in the first season. And I think a big part of that is because of how they released it. If this would have all released a month and a half ago, we wouldn't be talking about it right now.
No, we'd talk about it a month and a half ago, but maybe.
Right.
Yeah. So the big thing, the other thing that like I didn't think about until a little bit before we started recording, because I'm seeing ads for The Mandalorian coming out now. So this show got done we've got a couple weeks now where The Mandalorian will be the next series, and that show is also doing the same platform where it is not releasing them all at once. I don't even think they're going to do like multiple episodes on release day. They're probably going to stick to the way they did it last time, where you get one episode and that's it. You got to wait another week. And I kind of liked that format, thinking back, because it was something for me and Cece to do together, was to catch this show when it was going. It was the same thing with The Mandalorian. It was like, all right, we know that the show is coming out on this day. I'm going to clear my schedule. I'm going to make sure that I don't do anything else. And we're going to sit down. We're going to catch our show. Like, it got to be our show. Instead of having like a binge session where you just burn through the whole thing, you don't get any time in between the episodes to kind of contemplate or like make a bunch of like wild guesses as to what's going to happen next or anything like that, because it's immediately feeding back.
You don't even have time to go get a refill. Like usually Netflix gives you 5 seconds of credits and then boom, you're right into the next one. Yeah. Netflix revolutionized that thing of just dropping it all at once, and it seemed like the new way to go, but now it seems so archaic actually. Like I mean, I understand that Netflix has so much content that they're, I'm sure someone in there is just worried about their new content getting buried under weekly content. But at the same time, like I'm trying to think of an argument where dropping it all at once versus weekly would be more beneficial for a series. Like even Stranger Things, I know I would prefer to watch it all in one weekend, but how does it benefit Netflix to drop it all at once versus doing it this way? You would think the longer it's out there, the longer people are talking about it, the more word of mouth it is,
I think it's that slow burn theory. I don't know. Stranger Things is a great example at this point because it's got such an established history already.
Sure.
So
did The Boys.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, The Boys only had 1 year, but yeah.
It had 1 year, but it didn't get quite the reception that Stranger Things did. It didn't get that universal appeal. The Boys was also catered to a very a much older or more mature audience than Stranger Things was. So there's some differences there. But that slow burn, that's really what I think. That's really what does it for me nowadays, is that slow burn. Like the speculation as to what's going to happen next, the predictions. It's like back when we were in prime Marvel movie era, where like every trailer we're like, all right, what's going to happen? How's this going to go down? What are they going to introduce? How is it going to tie into the other things? Like we got to do that again, and they did a great job with it. So yeah, I gotta tip my cap to these to the makers of The Boys. Eric Kripke is listed as the creator on IMDb here, and yeah, absolutely excellent job. I don't know where do you want to start? Do we want to kind of because we didn't talk about season 1 very much. I think we kind of we did that. The last time
the last time we talked about this, we covered the first half of season 2, but we can at least kind of recap where season 1 left us with The Boys, and it left us with us as the viewers finding out about Compound V, and Homelander finding out about Compound V and distributing it across the world to make his own set of villains to prop up the Seven. He thought that he was going to protect the Seven and protect Vought by making enemies, and people would love them that much more. Even though Vought didn't know about this, certainly wouldn't want him distributing their Compound V and risking exposure. And at that point, the entire world didn't know about Compound V. So that was a big theme going into this season, is how long is it going to take until the world finds out? And then how will the world react? And honestly, that was like one of the smallest plot points of this season. Like the world didn't really freak out that much, or they kind of dropped that, and then Vought went into their corporate overlord protection mode, and we didn't know about it either.
So that's like kind of one of the only I guess before I get started on that, another major plot point that we got right at the end of the last season was that Billy's wife, Butcher. Billy Butcher's wife, Becca.
Billy's wife, Butcher.
Well, I called him Billy for some reason. I was like, wait a minute, Butcher.
Yeah.
Butcher's wife, Becca, we find out that she's still alive.
Right.
Homelander did rape her, and she did end up having his child, and he's a super kid, and Homelander found out about that as well.
Homelander found out about it as well. Yeah, that was the other thing. Mm-hmm.
And considering he had just killed Madeline Stillwell, who was kind of like this emotional attachment point for him, having grown up without that, he has now latched on to having a son and like having it like raising Ryan differently than before, and also really sadistically showed Butcher that.
Yeah.
And then you didn't know what had happened there. I think everybody at the end of season 1 assumed that Butcher was probably killed, or it was like how are you going to get out of that? I was under the assumption that Homelander was using that to kind of like torture him a little bit, like he's playing with his food a little bit almost, because like you can't touch Homelander, like that's how he feels. It's like you can't do anything to me.
Oh yeah, I didn't expect Butcher to die, but I just saw the pride in Homelander's eyes in breaking this man who just, I mean, this is the guy that when the crowd was looking one way, Butcher was looking at him, just staring Homelander down like, I'm going to take you down. And Homelander got the last laugh. He not only saved Butcher from that explosion that Butcher looked like he was planning on dying when. He was planning, he's going to try to blow him up together in Madeline's house. So Homelander not only saved him, but then just rubbed it in his face. Like, oh yeah, by the way, your wife's alive with my kid. And season 2 picks up right after that Butcher is dropped off in some location and the boys are outed, as wanted men. So now their faces are on every TV across the nation as terrorists against the Seven and against the common man, and they're blamed for the death of Madeline Stillwell.
Yep.
Not Homelander.
And Starlight's got a big spotlight on her.
Yeah, she's just living in straight fear,
having a known connection to Huey, who's also on that list, and all the links have been made. And she says it in the show a couple times. It's like, I'm just worried about looking over my shoulder and finding out, is this the day that Homelander's going to kill me or something like that? Like yeah, it's pretty brutal. Now, but that leads into like I want to talk about some negatives first before we start getting into like the finer plot points. Obviously, I don't want to describe the entire plot. This is a spoiler discussion, so if you're watching this, you've already seen it. You don't need us to recap the entire season for you. But it was something that you talked about right off the bat is how the supervillains that were created, it almost feels like in this series that plot point was like they brushed it off.
Oh yeah,
they really didn't get enough traction out of that. It just there's so many things that they introduced in that first season, also that they introduced in this season that they really didn't hold out onto, and they excused away with Stan Edgar just kind of like giving it the whole corporate, I don't know, like that was just seemed to be how it was played off, and that was also what we got as like kind of a finale moment too. Like it's just like, all right, yeah, we didn't know Stormfront was what she was. Like we'll just kind of like play dumb, apologize, have a press conference. We're superheroes. What are you really going to do? And wave it off. I also feel like Starlight really didn't get too terrible much time to shine in this series. Like she kind of had like the sort of the same composure the entire time. Just there were some suspenseful scenes that she got, but that wasn't necessarily because of her. That was because of the threat that is Homelander, who I will say absolutely ran this series. Like he ran the first season, Anthony Starr did, and he ran this season too. I feel like without Homelander really kicking ass and being a great actor that Anthony Starr is, I don't think that I would be as on board with this show, because he pulls off that sadistic, also childish, like demeanor as far as like how he handles things, how he's so naive to so many different things, and he's experiencing them all for the first time and has to get his way, but cannot live with the fact that anybody's disappointed. Like, it very much feels like a child.
He is a child, and I think to your first point about how those supervillain things didn't take off, I think that was on purpose because that was his idea and it fell through. Like, he thought to point A, and people like Stan Edgar think to point Z. Stan Edgar barely had, I mean, he was just like a cameo in the first season, and he was a cameo in the first half of the second season. He had more airtime on the second half of the season, but the more you saw him on camera, the more you realized that he knew that in order to be in his position, he had to have multiple game plans at once, and he had to act immediately when obstacles were thrown in his way. So he knew that those villains were of Homelander's creation. He knew that the V leak was mostly Homelander's fault, and he had to address that. So he's willing to make deals with Butcher. He's willing to consider holding Homelander's son hostage in order to keep him under the control. He's willing to verbally just slap Homelander in the face in his office and call him a man-child, despite having no physical powers. Like, Stan Edgar does not have any superpowers, and
that we know of.
Well, but he's a very reserved man, and he said that's a white man's game, and lashing out, and he's clearly a very calm and calculated person, and so I liked that. I did notice that there were no supervillains like the first season set up, but then when I looked at it through the lens of, well, that was a stupid game plan of Homelander's that didn't pan out, it made sense to me why they didn't focus on that, because it was a child thinking this was a good way to project a business.
Well, they spent enough time on it to where I thought that was a direction that they were going to tangle with quite a bit, because they had the entire plot line with Kimiko's brother, and with the terrorist organization that they were forced to be a part of. But after her brother died, that kind of dropped off. They're just like, all right, that's over. It's like, I feel like that needs to get revisited, and it sounds like, based off of the ending of the show, it now sounds like people are going to be going in their separate ways. And the individual things that we see might end up being what brings them together. So who knows? That might end up making a reappearance. But we've got a political angle that's going to be played now, obviously.
Oh, well, there's so many political angles in this show. This show is politics heavy.
Sure, but we're going to focus on like much more on the politics now, with Huey's involvement with Victoria Newman, who is running for office. And him wanting to take down Vought the right way and get involved in the more political side, even though we found out that I was kind of right with a prediction that I had made off camera. We didn't discuss it in a podcast.
Oh, off camera.
Like but no, I told you about this. It was in our chat. It was after the scene where the testifying was supposed to go on and a bunch of heads started exploding.
Yeah.
And I told you, I was like, Stan Edgar's got some Magneto shit going on or something like that. And turns out I was like 15% right, because it was some mind control shut or something like that. We end up finding out that Victoria Newman has some crazy cloudy-eyed ability to go cloudy-eyed and then make heads explode. And,
although we didn't see her cloudy-eyed in front of all those cameras, which I think is a mistake. Like, I don't see how she could be in a room we saw her a lot in that scene, and she was screaming and everything. But it was like, how did nobody notice her cloudy eyes in that scene? But granted, they were focusing on all the heads exploding. But
Well,
I don't think you're
did we see her
necessarily
for
wrong.
long enough to where we didn't see her actually like doing that? Like, does it go
Yeah,
on
I
and
don't
off
know.
while she's actually causing it to happen? I don't know.
Right.
There's a lot of chaos in that scene.
I don't think you're necessarily wrong completely, though. I have a theory that she's working for Vought. I think she's just another one of Stan Edgar's plans, because who really blew up in that room? The guy that was going to speak out against Vought, a couple politicians, and a couple people from Newman's camp that didn't really mean anything. Nobody really of importance to Vought died in that room.
Well, it was
And
also
it's
it was out of her mouth where she said that some people from Vought got killed, but it was just to cover their ass.
right,
And
because there wasn't a big conspiracy, or like nobody went after Vought after that. It was actually it almost just rallied the troops to be. I mean, the government was ready to just sign everything over to Vought after that, as we saw in later scenes. So I have a feeling that she is just another one of Stan Edgar's many plans in motion.
I can't help but agree. The only other theory that I had was that this was some sort of that this was like a really long-standing revenge that Victoria Newman was seeking for something. Maybe she was another experiment of some kind, or this is strictly a which this one I actually think is a little bit more likely. This is a situation of somebody who has a very easily concealable superpower that is, and through that ability to conceal it is 10 times more dangerous than what Homelander is. First of all, we don't even know if she could blow Homelander's head off. Like, who knows? I think of it as kind of like, I don't want to make any comparisons to American politics, but there's certain events that have happened in the past that politicians rally behind their handling of the situation in order to consolidate more power, to gain more of a base. Like, you can pick out just about any major event back around 2001 with a certain president, and that was a rallying cry, or a certain mayor of New York. That event ended up being something that they called back to all the time in order to like push, be like, hey, you see how I handled this situation? It was great. I feel like this tackling of Vought, it didn't look like the optics for what was happening did not necessarily look like it was Victoria Newman's doing. It wasn't a political angle. It was like Vought is being taken down from the inside, because we had the testifying doctor.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was a doctor.
But Newman was the one in the street, rallying people
Sure.
and calling for these hearings.
Sure. But I mean that played into the point. Like, they also had
Sure.
Lamplighter there. But Lamplighter ended up dying. The doctor, I was like again, it was them being taken out from the inside rather than her being able to conquer them through some sort of political aim or through the legal channels and be able to use that as some sort of a showcase. Be like, look what I've completed. She's running for office right now. Taking down Vought in that manner would be a very strong point if she could convince and like turn all that around.
Those, whatever that campaign office was, she's already in office. She was a senator in the show, and at the end of the show, Mallory said that she's getting her own office in the White House to basically regulate soups. So she's not campaigning for a job. Mallory said she already got a big job. At the end of the episode, she said that Newman will head a new office in the White House that basically regulates soups. So, I mean, I think that she's
United States Congress Office of Soup Affairs.
Yeah, so she's got the job, and I think that only leads more to the theory that she's one of Stan Edgar's plans, because what better position for Vought to have than the person that's running the soup regulation office?
Which is a very common theme that we've seen, like, because there's a lot of tie-ins, obviously, with this show with like the current political climate, where you've got certain appointees into the administration that would seem to be a very serious conflict of interest. Yeah, that's actually the best position to have somebody there is if you're worried about oversight, put somebody into power that
Mm-hmm.
you have in your pocket or is in line with you to be ahead of the oversight. That's actually a really good thing
Yeah.
too. I think both theories are pretty good and sound because if she's already got a high level position, like a very important position in the White House, that's another really good thing on the resume too. I can easily see uh, Congresswoman Newman, who's they're trying to put off some AOC vibes a little bit, but
Trying. Come on.
loose. I want
Not even trying.
I was being
Let's be
generous.
real. I think
being
most people
generous.
knew what they were trying to do.
Yeah. It's like, I can absolutely see in this next season her kind of taking that top spot as a real supervillain, and maybe kind of getting, well, it's obvious that that's going to be the direction that they're going around because they've put they've put our moral beacon for the show into right into a starting job in her organization, just part of that campaign. They've got Huey in there. And I think he's gonna. I think that he's gonna end up uncovering something, or he's gonna witness something, or be the one that has to be convinced that she's actually terrible, because one of the other members of the cast finds out about it, and then that turns into a major issue. And obviously, like I said, her superpower is infallible. Like she doesn't have to be using a huge amount of power. She doesn't have to suck electricity out of something in order to do it. Like she just uses her mind and heads explode.
Right.
And if she's got a pair of sunglasses on, you'd never fucking know it was her. So
well, and here's my one other point for that, because I know we got so much other stuff to talk about than just Newman. But my other point is, up until now, nothing's changed. There's nothing been in this show to suggest that there are any superheroes out there that didn't come from Compound V. So how could she have superpowers and Vought not know about it? Like, it's not like there was a little side thing that said, oh, Vought lost a shipment of Compound V years ago. For as far as we know, Vought has tracked every single person that has been given Compound V since the 1910s. So that just says it even more to me that they know that this is, that this is another Stan Edgar plan, because how else would she have powers? Like, they have facilities that they're testing people with powers. They have people on registries. Everybody so far that's a superhero is a superhero because Vought made a deal with their parents. So why would that not be the same for Newman? I don't see anything in this show to suggest that would not be the same.
Well, we've got to remember, though, that the person who was widely responsible for experimenting on those children, that doctor who ended up having his head exploded, is now dead. And who knows what's been done with the information that was on her. Who knows how many other heads she's exploded, how many other people have disappeared. Like, some major players in Vought have all been killed off. And if it is secretive somehow, why, she has no reason to be opposed by Stan Edgar at this point, because with her head exploding event, pretty much saved his ass. It's all right, nothing to worry about now.
Then that's the thing. If she wanted to go on a just a kill streak, clearly she could just do it. And if she wanted someone as high up as Stan, she killed the L. Ron Hubbard dude of the Church of the Collective. So if she can get him, why can't she get Stan Edgar? It just leads me to believe that. But at the same thing, we thought we knew what season 2 was going to be like after season 1. And I don't believe that she will be the major villain or the major storyline of season 3. I think this is just the world we live in. And I'm sure they're going to touch more on her. But to me, it just felt like this is the world. This is part of the world. There's going to be so many angles. There's going to be so many people. I don't expect a whole story arc on that one girl that escaped the asylum. I hope she comes back, but I just feel like there's so many soups out there. Some are in the open, some aren't. That not every soup is going to have a full-fledged storyline or focus. And the only thing I know for sure that we're getting in season 3 is Homelander just going off the deep end, because he has lost everything and now he's just a puppet, and he knows it when before he didn't really know it, but now he does.
Yeah,
And he
especially
really
with
knows
that,
it now.
especially with that little that exhibitionist stunt that he pulls right at the end of the last episode.
Yeah, that wasn't a man in control. That was a
I can do
man
what I
who
want.
fucking lost everything. Yeah, he's breaking down. He realizes he doesn't have power anymore. He's the leader of the 7, and yet so many people have power over him.
Let's talk about Ryan. And Ryan, Butcher, and Becca. How do you feel about how that whole thing went down?
Well, first of all, I just realized today that they recast the kid. So I kind of felt bad because the original kid at the end of season 1 looked a lot like Homelander. I didn't think that the newer kid looked like Homelander, but he was a great actor. I did like him. And I liked the storyline for what it was. I thought it had so many layers. It had the mom that was in a shitty situation, but this is her son, and she was doing everything she could to raise him not like Homelander. And for a good chunk of his life, she was able to do that. And all of a sudden, Homelander is able to come and go as he pleases, and she's pleading with Vought, like, do something. This is clearly destructive. And Vought's like, well, it's too late now. And then you have the right
was a favorite. Like, that was a good line. Like, yeah,
exactly.
Why would you be talking about this with a dude with super fucking hearing, like, right near you? Like,
yeah,
he's gonna hear this entire conversation.
And then you have the Homelander angle, who sees a younger version of himself that he could mold, who is we got a little more sense of the shitty childhood that he had, and that he doesn't want his son to be like that, but at the same time, he doesn't give a shit about Becca, and he wants his son to be him. He wants to raise his son in his image, not in anyone else's image. And then you have the third angle, which is Butcher's angle, which he all of a sudden found out that his wife is alive when he was 100% sure that she was dead. But now there's this obstacle in his way, and it's the offspring of his nemesis, of the man he hates the most. And he is,
and has that much more reason to hate him.
Right. He's that much more reason to hate him, but it's that thing of him either lying to Becca or lying to himself that he could accept that child in order to get his wife back. And, I thought that was all done really well. I didn't think they milked it too much. And, I thought it was real problems. It wasn't like stupid problems. It was a real problem for Becca to have. It was a real problem for Butcher to have. And I liked how it was handled.
I was really worried about how that would all go down. I figured it was going to be either her or Butcher that died in this season, because I didn't see what they were going to do. Because obviously, if Butcher had succeeded and he had gotten the kid taken away, I think it would have been really boring to have some sort of almost a marital quarrel between, like, Butcher having to lie his way around finding out where Ryan is in the next season, and and Becca just being absolutely desperate to find him, Billy finding out where he's at, or knowing exactly where he is, or coming up with excuses for why they can't do it. Like, I just didn't see how that dynamic would play off, because we've already kind of gotten that side out of Butcher to where he is lying all the time. Like, he just keeps stuff. Like, it would have been really bad if he had been able to still be that character around Becca.
Well, and you saw that towards the end of the season, Becca escapes and she goes and she finds the boys, and you saw how much she didn't fit in with them, and how she wasn't going to be the new person in the group. She was just, it was clear that she wasn't going to be there. And as much as Butcher has tried to write off the boys in the past, it was also clear that he wasn't going to go play hunky-dory family guy with those two. So I knew something was going to happen, and I was fairly certain if one of the parents were going to die, it was going to be Becca.
Yeah, and honestly, the way that they handled it was pretty dark, but and like you really feel for Butcher in that scenario too, but yeah, done brilliantly well. You could tell that man, there was first of all, before even the scene that I want to talk about happened, like he had his moment where he was like, you know what, I'm not gonna lose you again. Get out of here. I'm gonna hold him off. You're gonna get out. You're gonna get safe. Take him somewhere. Like he was gonna throw himself away. Not even throw himself away. He was gonna sacrifice himself to make sure that his wife survived. And he went back against like his first impulse, which was to get rid of this Soup kid because he's got a lot of prejudices there. And he was like, you know what? I'm gonna overcome them for my wife because I love her more than anything else. And then, he got his heart ripped out. So originally he thought that his wife had been killed by Homelander. Now his wife has been killed by Homelander's son, and so that hatred for Soups is still going to exist. But an incredible conflict at that same point too, because his wife's dying wish would be the only promise that I can see Butcher making that he would uphold without any hesitation. Well, not without any hesitation, but like I feel like that'd be the only promise that he could make that he would actually hold to.
Well, and that was the first time he'd met the kid too. Like until that point, up until the point where they rescued the kid, he had only talked to his wife about the kid, and he had never seen him in person, and he had never seen his wife care for him in person. And it wasn't.
He saw him at the end of the first season, but.
Oh well, that's true. That's true. But that was
not necessarily enough to like have any connection to him. Right?
Connection with him, right?
Like, whatever.
And since then, I mean, it was a side note for sure, but I think it played into his final decision. He met up with his parents, and we got just enough insight into Butcher's own shitty childhood with his dad, who was a shitty dad in Lord of the Rings, and apparently a shitty dad in The Boys as well. And he got
that was great.
Yeah, we got that insight as well. Yeah, so I think Butcher was faced with one, not breaking his wife's heart, and two, not being a part of another reason why this kid's life was going to be horrible. You know, he had lived his own life with a horrible father, and he didn't want to, in any kind of way, you know, be a part of why that would be a problem for the son. So he made that decision, and then it didn't matter. He was put in a bad thing. Did you think, just by his face, did you think that he was considering killing the kid at the end?
I don't know if he was gonna specifically go for the kid, or if he was just gonna die trying to kill Stormfront. I for some reason I felt like he was just gonna go blood drunk at that point. Like he's like,
well, there was nobody else there.
I don't care if I live or die now. Fuck it.
He picked up that weapon and he was looking straight at that kid. I mean, Homelander hadn't shown up yet. There was nobody else in that clearing.
Or not,
and
not
I was like,
yeah, like I was pretty sure that he was gonna like take that crowbar to the kid, or die trying. I don't think
the way he looked at him. I was scared. I was like, oh shit, he's hit the breaking point and he's alone in the woods with the kid that killed his wife. And then, thank God, the one other person that he hates in the world showed up. like if Homelander hadn't showed up, I don't know what would have happened.
He had a great moment with Ryan. He had a couple great moments with him where Ryan was like, you know what, I'm not going with Homelander, and he actually, like, a guy he doesn't even know, and the only knowledge that he had was that it was his mother's husband, and he's like, I trust this guy, like.
But he had spent enough time around his father to know that something wasn't right. Like it wasn't. I mean, you know, his mom had said, "This is my husband."
Like, he had just killed his dad. He had just killed his dad's girlfriend. So.
Right.
Well,
right.
Maybe killed. Fried her.
I don't think she's dead. I don't think she's dead. They said it undisclosed. I don't think she's gonna return for some massive final arc or anything. But I don't think she's dead. But yeah, it was a great scene. And Homelander just, oh my God, he was just, he
so
was
good.
just, he's
so good.
fantastic. He's fantastic in this show as a person who's just power hungry and caged now. He is at the end when you see him talking to that news conference, you can tell how caged he is and how much he hates it, because that has been the theme of this season, is just everybody taking shit from him. Like Edgar, he lost Madeline. He lost his little,
I don't know if lost is the right word for what happened
well,
there.
I mean,
He burned her fucking brains out of her
he would
eye
find a way
sockets.
to blame that on her and not on him,
Sure. Well, he
But
did. He absolutely
yeah.
blamed it on her.
So he
that
lost
she was
her.
lying to him all the time.
Right. He lost the, the temporary setup that was getting him through, with the dude that he made look like her. He lost his standing in the 7. He lost he lost any control he thought he had at Vought, with Edgar just, bitch slapping him. I mean, he's just lost. He was losing the country, and Stormfront had to come in and teach him, how to be a ruler in today's America. He just kept on losing things. He lost his son. He lost his girlfriend. He's just lost everything, and now he's lost any type of command structure he had with his teammates, because pretty much everybody's blackmailing him, and he has to go in front of everybody and act like it's okay. I mean,
Yep.
he's not the leader anymore. He's like the bitch of the crowd.
Well, the only problem that I had with it is, well, first of all, we don't know how powerful Maeve is, but obviously she's powerful enough to where Homelander. She's either powerful enough to where Homelander didn't think that he could just kill her and take the phone and like destroy the footage, or
I
like
think
he couldn't live with doing that because he still cared about Maeve or something like that, or I don't know.
I think they could have done that a little better, but I think people are mistaking that. She came to him with a phone. I don't think that was the only footage. I think it was. I mean, I saw that scene as
Sure,
he
but he's a
knows that
child.
she
Like,
wouldn't. I saw that scene to say that he knows that she wouldn't go there with the only footage that existed. If something, I mean, she didn't say the speech that you hear on every other show, but if something happens to me, this footage will go wide. But
yeah.
I don't think that was ever an option of, well, you could just kill her now and destroy the phone, because I don't think he thought that was the only footage.
It answered the question for me though. Because I really feel like, because at that point I don't feel like Homelander thought that he really had that much to lose by killing her off, because he's killed so many other people and been able to get away with it. And who's the number one like person, like the most wanted in there right now? Billy Butcher. He's
Right.
sitting right there. All he had to do was kill off Maeve at that point, blame it on Butcher. Done deal.
And we've seen that
Like,
Maeve has lived in fear around him as well.
Yeah.
She it wasn't as much on display as Starlight, but we got a little bit of more insight into her, that Homelander has destroyed previous people in her lives, and she has been walking around on eggshells and trying to be as secretive as possible. I think that if he wanted to, he could kill her, and she knows it, and she knows that he could also kill everybody else that she cared about.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you there, because one of like Maeve's main motivation throughout all of this, and even like conversations that she had in the first season, is that we all have a weakness. It's people. Like, we all care about somebody. Like her, like the entire time, she was never worried about what Homelander was going to do to her. She was worried about what he was going to do to Elena. Like he was, because he had destroyed somebody before. Like, I'm pretty convinced at this point that Homelander knows that he couldn't kill her. Like, she's probably at a powerful enough point where she could survive that hit, and that's why he's always attacked everybody else around her to try and keep her in control instead of attacking her. He's always.
I haven't seen them fight, and I mean, even when they talk before we knew about her lover, it always seemed like she was holding back. I don't see anything that says that she's stronger than him, and if I mean, I always felt like she was powerless to protect the people she loved.
We saw her incapacitated. Well, like she might not have the super speed that he does. He could just like wipe through somebody, and she can't really stop that much. Who knows?
Sure.
He's got laser beams that come out of his eyes, but maybe maybe he can't kill her with that. We saw her incapacitate and like effectively neutralize Black Noir with very little effort on her part. And Black Noir, up until that point, had been shown as this unstoppable force. Like,
yeah, how did you feel about that? Did you think that was dumb?
No, actually, because something that, you know, it was something that kind of like played back to that original thing. It's like we all have a weakness. He is nothing but an enigma. Like he's completely mysterious. We don't know anything about him. We don't know anything about Black Noir except now that he has an allergy to tree nuts. They did it with an almond joy, which is a funny little callback to Annie's thing. She has even more of a reason to like almond joys now at this point.
Right.
And another interesting fact is that the actor who plays Black Noir has the same allergy. And so it was actually Butcher's actor, God, I'm blanking on his name right now. Urban. It was actually his idea to say, it was like, you know, you should have that as your character's Achilles heel. Like he actually threw that in there in the first season.
Huh. Well, I do like, because in the comics, Black Noir was a failed clone of Homelander. So I'm glad they didn't go down that route. I'm glad that Black Noir is still.
We still know we know jack shit about him still.
Well, we know he's black, so unless they try to make a black version of Homelander, but otherwise, because he was an exact duplicate. He was basically a twin of Homelander that they just didn't feel like had enough, so they made him Black Noir. But in that fight, I thought it was. I didn't see. I saw Maeve as Black Noir's equal, but I didn't see Maeve as stronger than Black Noir. She just got the almond joy in his mouth for long enough, and apparently it was instant. But I think, I mean, I don't know. I still feel like
it didn't look like she had too terrible much effort in on that part.
Yeah.
The only other point of weakness that I've seen out of Maeve was during that plane scene in the first season, where I think it was just her inability to fly was like really the only reason that she didn't do more to save those people.
Can she not fly?
I haven't seen it. Like she asked him to at least fly a couple people down, and he wouldn't do it. Like, and he had.
How else is she getting everywhere? Like, how did she get to the end scene if she couldn't fly?
I don't know.
Maybe I didn't see a car.
Maybe she can fucking Hulk jump or some shit. Maybe
she has an invisible jet.
Maybe she has an invisible jet. I don't know. Yeah. There's still a lot of questions about all these superheroes, but I actually like that the show isn't answering them like directly. They're not really giving us a lot of exposition scenes as far as backgrounds on most of these heroes. And I hate it, but I like it at the same time because it kind of leaves it open to those interpretations. It lets us learn more about the characters in more natural ways instead of treating the audience like idiots and being like, we're gonna spoon feed you this information so you have it for later or something like that.
Yeah, like they give some background. Like we obviously got we got one of the rare. There's not a lot of flashbacks in this show. We got one flashback with Stormfront when she was Liberty, but we don't get that much in terms of flashbacks.
That was a story that was being told.
Yeah, but I mean, we saw it. Unlike
but
and normally it's just. Right. Normally, it's just somebody telling a story, like Lamplighter telling the story, or Mother's Milk telling the story about his father while still leaving some question marks. Or, well, I guess we did get a little bit of Frenchie. We did get flashbacks for Frenchie, but again, he was narrating that for the most part. Like he was telling that story. We also got some insight into Billy Joel and his connection to Huey. Well, Huey's connection to it. You think that I feel if anything was a setup for season 3. Yeah, I felt like that conversation about his mom went a little too long. I feel like she's coming back for sure.
Oh, she's not dead. She just didn't.
She's not dead.
She's gonna.
I feel
show
like
up
she's
again.
coming back. Yeah.
I think
Mhm.
she's gonna see Huey on TV helping out Victoria Newman and all that stuff and like the campaign or see him as a part of that and be like, oh
Well,
hey,
she
this
probably
is
saw him on TV as being wanted for one,
yeah.
because he was on TV as being wanted for a while as well.
Like
I
I
really
wanted to know where
liked.
you are for a long time. I just
Yeah.
didn't know where to find you until I saw you as the most wanted in this city or something like that.
And if she's as anywhere as dumb as Starlight's mom, I swear, Starlight's mom was so irritating.
She
Like I
was
was like
hated it.
that scene when Starlight was they were in the coffee shop and it was like the Spider-Man 2 scene and Starlight's like, "Wait, you told them about this?" And then immediately the smoke bombs come in and Black Noir just punches the crap out of her. Like, I was like, "Oh my gosh."
It was a little
She's so
cliche, but
dumb.
it also wasn't the worst way
Yeah, I
for it to
know.
go down.
It
Oh,
was fine by me, but she was just so annoying. Like she just couldn't see that her daughter was struggling with more than just her, and she just kept on getting in the way. You know?
yeah. It was interesting to see that Vought had like basically a vault prison for superheroes.
Yeah, I
Um,
like that.
I
I
really
like that.
hate. I really feel like Lamplighter was a throwaway. At the end, I was really compelled. Like I was really interested in seeing more of Lamplighter. And he's just like, oh, I'm gonna kill myself. Sad that I can't do it in front of my statue. That
Lamplighter,
made me
yeah,
so mad.
I think
That's the
most
only
people
point where I
feel
was
that
pissed
way.
off in the show. That was
Sean
the only
Ashmore
point.
is such a great actor, and not only was it comedic that he basically switched to his nemesis from X-Men, but
Right.
he was so good in it. Like at the beginning, you're like, there's no way that I would feel anything but complete hatred for this character because you see what he's doing in the hospital. You see that he's working with Stormfront, and then you get the added story about how he's the one that killed Mallory's kids and has
Burned them alive,
basically
no less.
yeah, has basically been the reason why the boys have had such a shitty life since then. And also the turmoil that Frenchie's been through this whole time because of him. And then you're like forced he's like forced to be a part of their group. And at first I wasn't on board, but by the time the second episode came and he was like willing to be, I don't know, he was willing to somehow, I don't think he was actually going to be a witness. I think he was going to light
No.
himself on fire one way or the other. But I liked him enough that he was like, he tried to do something. But I mean, he didn't really do much for him. He was just like, where's the venue that I'm going to set myself on fire? And then he just kind of, and then Huey was like, you son of a bitch. Like, you know, like saw off his hand and everything. That was hilarious.
I loved like the casual porn watching scenes too, where it's just like terribly uncomfortable and cringy.
So uncomfortable.
But at the same time, like as soon as like Starlight's name came up in its eye, I was like, oh nope, we're good. I'm good. You can pick whatever you want, just not like however you had to fucking divert from that.
And how on point the Homelander one thing was with, you know, forcing the husband to be a cuck. Like that was like, did he tell the screenwriters to write that? Because it was so on point. Those were funny for sure.
Overall, I think this was a great season. It's an excellent, like if you look at this series as a trilogy, which I really hope it is. Like I hope they only do 3 seasons. Like I hope they have like a really epic closeout at this point. It's a weird thing that I have about television shows that are this good. Is I really only want them to have like I really wish Stranger Things ended on the 3rd season too. I wish that would have been the end of it because they had a really good ending for it, but then they left it open again. Like this was a great second act. Like they did a really good job with it. Like I said, the only things that really pissed me off were how they handled Lamplighter. I didn't get enough of him. That was really upsetting. I don't care about the Deep and the Church of the Collective. I'm not pissed about it, but it just wasn't an interesting plot
Well, it
point
was
for
clear
me.
it wasn't. It was like the D plot. It was the deep D plot.
Yeah.
You know, where you had A, B, and C, much better plots, and they got more screen time. I don't know what the deep is going to be in season 3. Like at the end of season 2, I
He's
mean,
gonna
they
be
almost wrote him off.
the new guy for the Church of Collective, maybe.
I
Or
don't know.
the new
Well,
lead
oh
dude.
yeah, that's right. Because nobody else knew about the whole toxic thing. Like they were about to out him as the latest toxic person.
Mhm.
So yeah, who knows? He could be. But that whole Scientology thing and the Fresca just made me smile every time they mentioned Fresca. Like what did Fresca do to the writers of this show? Because clearly somebody hates Fresca
One
with
of
a
them
passion.
really hates Fresca.
Like Fresca was, I mean, they basically made them the signature drink of Scientology, and it's like, who at Fresca wronged you this much? And it wasn't a fake soda; it was a real soda, and it'd be like if they called out Seven Up, and then Seven Up was like the running joke the entire season. I just every time they mentioned Fresca, I loved it. I just cracked up.
I'd be like, even with 7 Up, I'd still be like, okay, calm down.
Right, and
what did
everybody
lemon
took
lime
it.
soda do to you to fucking deserve
Everybody when offered,
Like-
they took the Fresca except for Stan Edgar, and Stan Edgar was like, "No, this is nasty stuff."
that?
To his face, like, "No, I don't want your Scientology juice." There was a lot. I loved.
Those were the only points that I really, those were the lowest points for me, was the Church of the Collective and how they handled Lamplighter. Maybe
Yeah.
a couple other things like including Starlight's mom, but none of them were so bad that I was just like, that this is, there was absolutely nothing that ruined the series for me.
Oh no, and I
This
don't think
entire
there was enough
season
time.
really built solidly to. Yeah,
It was. I felt it was a tight 8-episode show. I mean, it kind of lagged a little bit in the middle, but it lagged for an 8-episode show. It didn't lag for 75% of a 24-episode season. I still felt that it was moving forward with every episode. I didn't feel like any episode ended in the same spot that they were in at the previous episode.
I think the reason that it might have felt like it dragged is because they gave us 3 episodes right at the beginning.
I think that's I really think that's the only reason.
And then we had to like wait a week to catch one
Right.
at a time after that. I think that.
But I
might have
never,
been
like-
a contributing factor.
I never ended an episode and was like, I waited a week for that. I felt
Yeah.
like each
Yeah, they were all
episode
good.
was good. I felt they were stronger. Like episode 6, I think was a huge episode. I remember me and you talking about it immediately after. Which one was that? It was a big moment for the series. Oh, it was the Asylum. It was the Asylum
it was,
episode. That was huge for the plot. That really, the last 3 episodes were just gung ho, and I
really lit it up.
loved all the little things, like this shot right here from the movie. The Justice
Girls
League
Get It
esque
Done.
music. Yeah, they were simultaneously making fun of Justice League and the Avengers at the same time. They even had a Joss Whedon reference.
There's so many of those in this.
So many of it,
So
and I
many of
loved
those
every
in this
part of
show.
it. It was so good. This was on point. This was definitely on point with the in-game female superhero moment. I just, every time they threw those in there, it was just enough to make me giggle, and I loved it. There's so many of those, but obviously one of the biggest plot points of the season was Stormfront. And I think this is why I really loved season 2, because you're talking about a trilogy. I think if they continued going along this model, which it seems like they are at season 3, they're introducing more superheroes from Vought's past. I think this was great. Yeah, they Jensen Ackles is coming in as Soldier Boy, which was one of the original superheroes for Vought, and that's already been confirmed and teased, and they've released little trailers for that. He had a statue on the show this season. So Jensen Ackles was the original Vought superhero, and he's coming back to the team. Just like in this season, they recycled Liberty and brought her back as Stormfront. And at first I was like, why? If she was such a problem child back then, why would they bring her back now? And it's because she's the wife of the founder.
Yeah,
and
she's got some stock in that company.
She's got stock, and she's definitely got enough power that Stan Edgar couldn't do anything about it. But I loved her character because this show was written and shot, over a year ago, and yet it was so relevant to this year. There's so many things that felt like they were reaching out to this year. Of course, these type of things were going on last year as well.
They related to the last few years so well.
Oh my gosh.
And they use it in perfect fashion, especially around her.
She was the most believable thing of this show.
Oh, 100%. Like the memeing. Like the
memeing.
Like the use of memeing was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. It was like this
five guys with a computer, can do what crowds couldn't do for
my
you.
meme queen, I think, is what she says.
Yeah,
like reaching out to one specific person.
She had an army. Stan Edgar recognized that she knows how to make people angry, and that's how you get support in today's day and age. You get them angry, and she knew how to light people up. And at the end, she said it right before they started beating her down. She said, "You know what? People believe in what I have to say. They support everything I say. They just don't like the word Nazi." And that was so accurate. It's crazy. And we saw in one of the episodes, the opening scene was just somebody who you saw was in a bad position in life and was getting beaten down because he was constantly watching TV and being subjected to her and other negative things about it. And then it got to the point where he made a bad call and ended up killing somebody because he thought they were a soup, which is, an allegory for immigrants or
that's
people of a different color. It was a lot of that.
That's why I was upset that they didn't do more with the super terrorist plot, because like there was a lot of potential for that to like leak in. Like we needed to see more. Like they don't do a whole lot with like everyday citizens. They show them out protesting a lot, or they show them up at the rallies with Stormfront and Homelander and all that stuff. But not much more beyond that. Like I wanted to like, we got little hints of like opposing factions of people who are like, we're absolutely against soups. We need to do something to get rid of them. And people who are absolutely for, like, we need more soups. I'll sign up. Like
we need our police force to be soups. We need our first defenders to be soups. Yeah.
I think we're going to see more of. I think we're going to see more of that in this next one, because we are going to see a little bit more of a political angle there with Huey and his position, and a new government organization that is specifically catered around towards superhero affairs. So, that's. I don't know. I guess I just need to wait a little bit for that one.
Yeah, well, she was great. I loved how she manipulated Homelander so easily. Like she was in control this entire season. Like she was just, and even Homelander, like there was a second when Homelander looked at her when she was talking about white genocide to Ryan. And even Homelander was like, "Oh shit, you really believe this?" But he didn't necessarily stop her. But she was just, she was all powerful. She had him around his finger. She had Edgar under her boot. She had everybody under her boot. And man, just like every time she spoke, she just said enough that your racist detector just went to 11. Little things like smart for his kind or being sassy to A-Train. Oh my God. But it was her own downfall, because it redeemed A-Train. Like A-Train, I mean, not really, but he did it for self-serving measures, but he gave the boys the fire that they needed to light her up. Without that information, the boys were just hoping to kill her. And Huey was right. Killing her wasn't going to do anything, but outing her as a Nazi did, and, sadly, as real as this show has been around her character, I thought that the coverage of the aftermath of that was just so, like, you got like one person that was like, "Do we have to say that Nazis are bad?" And I was like, "Have you lived in America these days?" Because apparently it's really hard for certain commander-in-chiefs to do. But like I wanted to see the beat, because I feel like there's plenty of people that would have been like, well, we didn't like the Nazi side of her, but we liked everything else.
Yeah.
But
Like,
she got her own in the end, and I think that was a huge thing because when she was screwing around with Homelander, she was like, "Laser my tits," and he was like, he had never come across somebody that he wouldn't kill with. I mean, he was like, "I'll kill you," and she's like, "I don't think you will." And she survived his lasers, but didn't survive little Ryan's lasers. Ryan fucked her up.
I don't know if he had lasers. I'm wondering what he actually did, because she was missing all kinds of stuff. She was missing legs. She was Anakin Skywalker.
Well, I mean, maybe
Like,
his was just like boosh or something, but
like, I don't know if it was a laser. It seemed like a fucking blunderbuss blast out of his
Right.
face or something like that. But
either way,
she was missing
he's
legs,
powerful as hell.
she was missing arms. She was all fried. Like, she was messed up.
Maybe it was like baby scorpion logic, like if a baby scorpion bites you, you're more likely to survive. Or no, you're more likely to die because they're more potent.
They don't have as much control over the amount of venom they pump into you and all that.
Right.
Like,
So maybe it was that, but I loved her character so much.
Yeah.
I feel bad now because I can't imagine anybody looking at her not seeing Stormfront, but she was great.
She did a great job. Anthony Starr did a great job as Homelander. They really carried the series. I overall was really happy with the season. I cannot wait for season 3.
Sadly, we're gonna wait for a while because
we're gonna wait.
They were filming season 2 before season 1 even launched, and they haven't started filming season 3 yet because of Corona and everything. So it's gonna be a minute. And we're getting a spinoff as well. We're getting that college spinoff as well. So hopefully that doesn't. Yeah, when you were talking about this will be a trilogy, they've already said they've greenlit a college style spinoff of this about college soups. So hopefully that doesn't degrade the quality of the franchise. But Amazon is all fucking in with this show. I mean, they didn't hold back with this season.
Like,
they gave them carte blanche. If you want to, I mean, remember when Deadpool was controversial? I feel like Deadpool's for kids compared to this show. This show went full controversial in every direction.
Yeah, so far the only complaint that Cece has had is the amount of blood and guts that end up getting exploded everywhere, and then the blatant masturbating at the very end of the series.
It was like a love letter to Quentin Tarantino at parts, for sure, with all the blood and the masturbating. I mean, it was in line with the show. The show's crass as fuck.
We knew he was masturbating. I didn't need the sound.
I know the sound.
They didn't need the audio in there. Like, we knew exactly what was going on.
Yeah. Now, Anthony, what's his name? Anthony Starr. He's come out and said that the only thing I can tell you for certain about season 3 is that Homelander will be a homicidal maniac in season 3. And so, good. I mean, he already is. He already is. He straight up had sex with Stormfront right next to the crushed face of some homeless dude in the alley. Remember that scene? So
I think
is he just going to be like?
He's not going to distinguish between criminals or anything like this. I think he's just going to be off the rope.
I did love that when Maeve threatened him. He wasn't like, he just went straight forward. He was like, if you do that, I will destroy everything and everyone. Like, just, I mean, he didn't even flinch, and she didn't flinch in return, saying, well, you'll lose everybody that you've ever, that has ever loved you. And that is his weakness. So you think he will,
as long as nobody loves you ever again.
Right. And you heard the chants of his name in his head, but he already fantasized about killing an entire crowd of people earlier in this season. So I wonder if he'll break, and that he'll just, I mean, he already confronted some of his weaknesses in this season with, I don't need anybody. I don't need a clone of what's her face. I don't need a clone. I don't need a clone of myself sucking my dick. I don't need anybody. I just need myself. I feel like he's already almost on the edge of not needing even the love of his fans. And again, I would love to see him cross that.
I will point out again, though, that he said that he would destroy absolutely everything and everyone. He didn't say that he'd kill Maeve, because I don't think he can.
I don't know.
I think she's strong enough to withstand.
I've yet to see them go head to head. I want to see them go head to head, but I've yet to see it.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Well, we're gonna have to probably wait until season 3. I hope that's when they decide to duke it out, because everything seems to be coming to a head at this point.
Yeah.
Nerf herders, let us know, what did you guys think of season 2 of The Boys? What did you think of season 1? Do you feel like any of our theories are absolute crackpot ideas and there's no fucking way that any of them will ever happen? Let us know what your theories are down in the comments below. Hit us up on social media, be a part of the conversation, and don't forget to subscribe so you catch all of our future content when it's coming at you. We've got a lot of stuff coming your way. We got a lot of pre-recorded videos, so absolutely make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get to be a part of that firsthand. And until next time, we'll see you guys later.
See ya.